Welcome back to Coffee with the Authors, where we decode the craft and business of fiction. Has this ever happened to you? You see a book come out and you kind of wonder, how the heck did that thing get published? So what do we do when we see a book that we think might be worse than our book actually get published when they wouldn't publish our manuscript?
So there are actually several reasons why this sometimes happens. So I'm going to start with publishing is a business. And sometimes there's a super successful book that the publisher then wants a follow-up to right away. So maybe the author spent 10 years writing that first book, and now all of a sudden they're under contract to get another book to them like within a year. So sometimes that rushing process can make it so that it doesn't have the same quality as that first book that they spent 10 years on. And sometimes it's just that the author has had a track record of successful books.
Yes.
And the publisher knows that anything they put out by that author is going to have a certain fan base that's going to buy it. So even if it's not quite up to that author's reputation, they'll publish it anyway, which can be disappointing to the fans, but it's a business and they still make money on it.
And also, publishing is a gamble, Ashley. So sometimes there may be a certain topic that is really popular and they think, well, this book might do well because of that. Sometimes there's a certain genre that's in style and they think, well, we might sell a lot of copies of the book because of this. And sometimes they think a book is award worthy, and that doesn't directly give you buckets of money, but the notoriety that comes from winning a big award usually leads to big sales.
And sometimes the acquiring editor thinks that it could be a bestseller. Usually that happens with a debut book. Yeah. So if you haven't sold your first book yet, you kind of have a benefit over people who have sold their first book and that first book maybe didn't, catch fire, because editors will look at your book as it has a potential to catch fire. Also, a publisher or an editor or the team will probably put you on a track. Either they'll think this is a sales book, like it has the potential to sell a lot of copies, or they'll put you on the awards track, which means they think that it has the potential to win some big awards. But either way, it's a gamble.
And if the book has any of those potential attributes, the publisher is probably going to take a chance on it because, again, it is a gamble. And it turns out that a small number of successful books actually pay for the majority of books which maybe don't even earn out. We'll talk more about earning out later on, but the short story is if 10 or 20% of the books are big hits, that kind of carries the rest of the list along.
Publishing is also personal. Sometimes an editor will buy a book because they personally like it. There was something about it that connected with them personally, and they had enough clout where they could muscle it through the acquisitions process.
And it's personal for us too. Maybe we don't like the style of the writing or the subject matter of the book, but there may be a large number of people out there who do. We've all read books that we think are subpar, yet they become huge hits. And when this happens, something to keep in mind is maybe there are people out there for whom the story itself is more important than the actual literary quality of the writing.
So often people conflate, I don't like it, with it's bad, which is, it's not the same thing. Like you can love Thai food, but somebody else can not like spicy food. Sometimes it's just a matter of taste.
Right, so maybe that book that you think is worse than yours, which became a big hit, maybe it's actually a good book. Or maybe there are other reasons that the market likes it besides the literary quality. The main thing is, what you don't want to do is get hung up on kind of sour grapes about this whole thing. You want to figure out why.
Where I see this and hear complaints about this most often is with picture books. It's like you'll read a picture book and you're like, how did this get published? And I have this just darling story that isn't making any traction. But then maybe it turns out that little kids really like this book.
Yeah. So probably the most important thing you can do when you read a book that you think is subpar, which was successfully published, is to not choke on those sour grapes, but instead try to figure out exactly why that thing was so popular. Because really, life is a school. So we should be learning from this.
Thanks for joining us. Hope you got something useful out of this episode. Please leave us a like and a comment. Any content you'd like us to cover, we'd be happy to do that. Leave it in the comments. Meanwhile, remember, dream big, work hard, don't give up,
and keep writing.
I know.
I'm a little monkey here, just doing my little monkey thing. I'm like that little bear with a drum set.
You kind of are.